All right. Well, I know usually we're used to being in our own separate quarters when we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But this is such a momentous occasion that I figured we'd come down to the conference room of the ship.
Yeah.
And talk about the fact that it has been 4 years.
5.
It's been 5 years.
5 years.
This is the 5th year.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So May 28th,
Yeah.
5 years ago,
5 years.
2017.
2017.
We did an episode called The Two Toms. And we were talking about our hopes for Tom Holland being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
At that time, we had only seen him in Civil War.
Yeah.
And then Tom Hardy was taking the role of Venom.
Yeah.
So what's crazy to me is the fact that there's been 2 Venom movies,
Right.
3 Spider-Man movies, and he was in 2 of the Avenger movies.
Yeah.
And Uncharted came out.
And Uncharted came out, right? Which we touched on in that video previously, was that there were speculations that he was being casted as a young Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
So here we are.
And they, at that point in time, that was like the 5th iteration of like the Uncharted movie of what they were moving forward on.
Yeah.
And I think that's right before like Naughty Dog pulled out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were still attached to it when we originally talked to it. Yeah.
So that is crazy. That's crazy to me.
I mean, think about it. 5 years ago, we were literally just coming off of Civil War.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about. And like, almost too much has happened in like the MCU.
Oh yeah.
It's like, sure, there was essentially like a year and a half or a year-ish of like the pandemic, like delaying things, but still, I mean, they still put out Disney Plus stuff and.
Just one simple thing, and I'll tell you the time frame of like what we were talking about then. We were talking about the differences between the Spider-Man movies, what we liked about the original 2 guys, and if we thought Tom Holland would be able to carry the role himself without Iron Man.
Yeah.
Without any context, now we're in an era where Iron Man is gone.
Right.
Tom Holland has had 2 movies that he carried as Spider-Man without him.
Yeah.
And Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield came back for the 3rd one.
Right.
So it's just this whole thing of like all these things that we were like, I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know.
Right. And then especially at the end of the new Spider-Man movie, he's like completely removed from Tony. Like he's on his own.
Yeah. It's like starting his story over from the beginning again.
Right.
And Tom Hardy makes an appearance at
the
end.
Which I thought that's what made this kind of like, when I was thinking about it back in probably, I think it was like February, I was thinking about like, man, I don't know why I stumbled back on the old video. I just did. I think I was just scrolling and went to your page and I was like looking and I was like let's watch this first video, because we had been kind of doing James Bond. We had been doing those podcasts. I went back and looked at our first one essentially, and just listening to it, I was like, we just didn't understand.
Yeah.
We were so hopeful that things would be better and good and do well, and little did we know that, like, honestly, other than like Venom 2, like everything that came out was very, very good and really wasn't that bad, and the Spider-Man movies were phenomenal.
Fantastic, right. It's crazy to think for me that the Tom Holland's 3 Spider-Man movies are like, to me, I love all 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Like they're all really good, and I can't say that about any of the original.
No.
Obviously, Garfield had 2.
Sure, yeah.
First one was okay. Second one was bad.
Yeah.
And then Tobey Maguire, first one good, second one good, third one bad.
Yeah.
But the new Tom Holland movies, I can say that like all 3 of them, like I really enjoy all 3 of them.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And I still like Homecoming. I like Homecoming's story. It's more tighter. He feels a little more Spider-Man-y in it. But, I mean, if it wasn't for the sake of what the 3rd movie encapsulates with bringing in the old cast, I think if you just made it what it was, like it was just a Doctor Strange Spider-Man thing and you didn't bring in those guys, it would have been fine. I would have liked it, but I think the multiverse thing really changes how...
it opens up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but looking back at like Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, such a great villain in that movie. I mean, it's like a perfect villain.
And isn't that funny? Because like when we filmed that, Homecoming was soon to come out.
Yeah, it hadn't
I
come
think
out yet.
like in July,
Yeah,
right?
it was like a couple months away.
Yeah, and it's like we had seen Michael Keaton being casted in it, and his suit looked cool, but little did we know that like his performance was probably going to be just as good as like Willem Dafoe's in the original Spider-Man.
Right.
And again in No Way Home. So
then in Far From Home, Mysterio is like a great villain in that movie too.
Yeah, he's really
yeah.
There's a lot with his character that's like, it's interesting how they make him kind of a good guy and then he's bad, and then it's like even when you think that Spider-Man's got the upper hand, he's still
smarter.
Yeah.
And then No Way Home, it's all the villains that
all
we loved as kids. So even the movies that were bad, the villains were great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
They did. I mean, they did, and they performed well in the third movie. It's not really the third movie's fault that their characters aren't, especially the Garfield characters, villains, are not
as fleshed out.
Yeah, and they're really surface level villains.
Yeah, they're more comic booky, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't love Electro's character.
No.
In Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Right.
But he was good in No Way Home.
I think they basically made him different enough where it's like you can't dislike him in the movie, you know, because he's not really the same character.
Well, they knew right off the bat they couldn't make him blue.
Right.
Which I think was a good direction to go.
Yeah. I did like, though, that they brought, like I think we talked about in another podcast, is that they kept the that reverberation, like, techno music when he first shows up on the power lines. They keep that kind of like music from the movie, which I like
dubstep.
Yeah.
No, that was cool. Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, that movie's so great. Just seeing like Green Goblin and like Dr. Octavius like together, on the same screen, like.
I know.
It's so good.
And so that's what's funny is like now you look, and now like. Now we think like we look ahead 5 years, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So we already got an Uncharted movie, which was pretty decent. There we have a podcast up about like how we liked it.
What's funny is we were talking about, we thought Tom Holland would be like a younger Nathan, and then like a different actor would take over halfway through the movie. And we didn't even know anything about like Sully being cast.
No.
And so like looking back, it was like we were worried about Tom Holland, and it was like that was the least of the problems.
No, right? Yeah, true.
Like he's a good Nathan.
He is really good Nathan. Yeah, it's kind of everything else surrounding him.
We've talked to death about that movie.
But I was thinking, like, you know, you're likely to get another Uncharted, which would be perhaps even more Uncharted than this movie because they end the first one, which feels like they're going in the right direction. Yeah. And two, it's possible. It feels a little unlikely. It feels like they're going to do a little more world building, but it's possible that now you get Tom Holland, Spider-Man, with the symbiote suit voiced by Tom Hardy.
Jeez.
You see what I mean? Yeah, because at the end of No Way Home, the symbiote thing stays, and that was, to me, was best case scenario. You don't actually get Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock in the universe. You just get the symbiote who he voices.
That would be sweet. I never even thought about that, honestly.
So it's like, it's really even more funny how the two Toms are
coming together.
Perhaps in another 5 years going to merge again. Yeah. It feels like that's more like the fifth Spider-Man, sixth Spider-Man movie. It kind of feels more like that. But at the same time, like you said at the beginning, we did our filming, and then it was Homecoming. Infinity War, he was in it. In Endgame, he was at the end, and then it's like No Way Home, Far From Home. It's like he was in 3 standalones and 2 cameos, essentially.
I would love to see, because we've seen a lot of different characters come into the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
I would love to see other characters' movies where Spider-Man joins those movies.
Yes.
That's what I would look forward to. And I don't see anything on the horizon right now where that would be.
I think it's a Sony thing. I think that they want to have their their hand in it. It's not a fully owned Disney property.
Yeah. So you brought that up,
which I think that I don't even know when we filmed it. Did Disney own?
No. So you brought that up in that episode that basically Tom Holland, Disney had Tom Holland for like 3 movies.
Yeah.
And then Sony was taking the rights back. Taking him back. But that ended with like basically Disney and Sony coming to like an agreement. Yeah. That they could both kind of do what they wanted with the character.
Yeah.
More or less.
I mean, it kind of feels like that because we remember in the press for No Way Home that Tom Holland was saying how he fought to have the movie be a certain way. And that he wanted those he wanted Andrew and Toby to come back, but it was very particular, right? He had certain things he wanted. So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing in that movie that shows me that they were like, no, you can't. So Sony was saying, no, you can't have that part of those characters. You can't, because it was like everything from those movies that were like, I wonder if they're just going to ignore. They didn't ignore anything.
No, they really didn't.
Very much like that is their universe. That's what they. I think that's what made it so much like more like fan based for us watching the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
To basically, very easy just to be like, no, none of that stuff. You know, just don't even talk about it.
Yeah, or just like everything's fine. They're more superheroes. It's like no, they have a different story than the Peter. Yeah, and I know everybody kind of. I've seen the memes and I've seen people kind of be like roll their eyes, but I actually really like the scaffolding scene where they like talk about certain things, even in the lab when they just the way that like this Peter's life and this Peter's life. It's like it was like the first time. It's never, I mean, really, when have we ever had anything like that?
Never.
Where it's like this character who played, like this actor who played this character, and from different movies are all coming together. It's like we've had, the first Avengers movie where it was like, wow, this is amazing. All these actors in the same universe are coming together. Yeah. But never from different franchises, different stories.
And what I think is really cool is, so that movie, No Way Home, sets up the fact that in different multiverses, these characters all have like one or two like common like time like time things, right? So they all have Uncle Ben losing Uncle Ben. Yeah, they all have that. That's their one steady like Spider-Man, right, like current through all the multiverse. Yeah, and so we just kind of saw like Doctor Strange's thing is they all have that hand accident.
Oh yeah.
Remember when they're in the thing and they're showing the X-rays? Yeah. And it's like their fingerprint, like their multiversal fingerprint, like they all have the broken hands. And I think her, what's her name? I forget her name. His like love interest.
Oh, Christine.
They're all the same. So they all have Christine. They all have the broken hand. Right. Which is what sets them up down that path. Yeah. They're completely different in other aspects. Yeah. But to me, I think that's like super cool that.
Oh yeah.
They all can have like they share like one thread throughout the different branches. Yeah, and it's just cool that like that movies will open it up towards the other movies that we're gonna
like potentially what's going to be anybody else really. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how they bring that together with other characters when like they have like a very like known thing.
Yeah, really. I mean, the thing going forward. I think the things that we would talk about now, looking back, we talked about Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man because both it was Venom and Spider-Man and a little bit of Uncharted. I think now you look forward, and what are probably the things that we're probably looking forward to is probably more like the mutants, the Fantastic Four. Yeah. And then outside of the MCU, I don't know. What is there anything like... Oh, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is coming to
as far as
HBO, like a Naughty Dog. Yeah.
No, I'm interested to see what they do with that.
But even game wise too, like who knows what other story adventure they're going to send.
Just from our podcast, there had been another game. Yeah. And I think the Uncharted games were done. They did that Chloe expansion thing. Yeah. We talked about that, and other than that, there hasn't been another Uncharted. No. There has been another Last of Us. Yeah. The other thing that we said in that podcast was that, like, you'll never see X-Men in an Avengers movie. We'll never see.
Yeah, we really didn't think that.
And we've gotten close.
I mean,
so far we're still right. has not been an X-Man
like
in an Avengers movie.
Right.
But seeing Professor Xavier,
really,
Doctor Strange is cool. It's like,
I mean, it's the first, right? It's like the page turning of perhaps now the mutants are going to be in it.
So in other multiverses, which is cool to think about, because like we've watched these movies as we've grown up.
Yeah.
But to think like during these movies, there's other multiversal wars, and there are like the characters from our comic books and childhood that we love that are like been in that
like
universe.
This is
we
happening.
just don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know what's been going on.
I saw this thing on the internet where it was
It's
a guy.
gotta be true, then.
Where this guy had took all the like 2000 heroes and like that was the Avengers. So it was like Ben Affleck, Daredevil, and Elektra, and Eric Bana Hulk, and the Thomas Jane Punisher, and somebody else.
Dude, that would be sweet.
And it was like, imagine, like that multiverse is all those heroes existing together.
That would be incredible.
It's like those, some of those movies were kind of rough, but at the same time, like under new directors, new writing, I mean, you could potentially bring back anybody. And not that I know you don't like dislike DC, but the thing I was thinking about too was like it really honestly opens the door for anybody to like, oh, it's a multiverse. It's instead of Marvel heroes, it's DC people, and just having Superman show up in one movie. Like, who cares?
Like, who cares? Yeah, I would love to see that.
You know what I mean?
I would love to see Batman show up or something. Right. But honestly, I will give DC credit. Like, they've even before like the Spider-Man movie, and currently with like Doctor Strange, they brought in a TV. Well, Spider-Man did too. They bring in a TV show actor to the big screen. Yeah. I mean, seeing Daredevil, Matt Murdock in Spider-Man was like that to me was probably the best part of that whole movie because that Netflix show is so good.
Right.
But DC has been doing that like way before. I mean, they've had characters from here to there.
Right. They're trying.
Yeah. To me, that would just be something like, if you like the TV show, why not just bring them on the big screen? You know?
Warner Brothers. Well, I think until they changed hands recently. But I think they're just, for whatever reason, just nervous to commit to things. I mean,
just commit to something. I mean,
you look at the most popular superhero in the Marvel universe, which is Spider-Man. He's the one who sells the most merchandise and comics and all this stuff. It's like Iron Man's popular because of Robert Downey Jr. Right. But Spider-Man is
MCU. Iron Man is like my favorite.
But across the board, Spider-Man has been the most popular.
Yeah, he's the coolest.
And it's the same. Batman is the most popular.
Yeah, right.
It's like they don't really do much with Batman. They just keep revisiting and redoing stuff with him. So
so the funny thing about doing this podcast is I have still yet to see either Venom movies. And I don't know if you saw it, I don't know if we talked about it, but I haven't seen the new Batman movie.
Yes, I just watched it. Okay. It came to HBO Max.
What did you think about it?
It's man, it's not like any of the other Batman things to ever come out.
That's what I've heard.
It's close to like the Ben Affleck stuff with being kind of dark and it's like gritty. But honestly, it's really just like it's basically like a detective movie.
That's awesome.
He actually does like crime things and he's figuring things out, and he's also not. It's hard to say he's not really Batman because everybody then thinks like, what does that mean? It just means he's. You know how Batman was always like, he always was like 10 steps ahead of the person, and he never was really worried.
It's year one stuff, right?
I think it's either year 1 or year 2 in the movie.
To me, that is super cool.
So he's very green. He's very green in the movie, which is fine. But it's like if you're like a diehard Batman fan and you like when he's like menacing and he's 12 steps ahead and he's got 19,000 gadgets and stuff, and he's not there. But just fine. They're building ground with it. But looking at what's his name? Pattinson? I don't think it's Patterson. I think it's Pattinson, right? Yeah. He's great. You looking back with the Twilight stuff, you'd think, oh God, right? But he's great in it.
That's cool. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
What I really enjoyed about the trailer is like, I honestly think that Batmobile is pretty sweet.
His Batmobile is very cool, yeah.
Like an old muscle car.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then when he takes his cowl off, and he still has the eye makeup on.
Yeah, he keeps the eye makeup on.
It's like, well, obviously,
Yeah. Because you always see behind the set, like, Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck have, like, the...
Yeah, you have to.
But then in the movie when he takes it off, it's like
clean.
He's clean, right?
Yeah, because you can't have.
No, they do a lot of really cool stuff.
It's like grounded. It's gritty. Like if you're gonna make like a realistic detective movie, that stuff has to stay in. You can't take off the cowl and have like perfect manicured hair and
right.
Like, give me a break. He's got this tight spandex thing on.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many movies that do that where they take off their helmet or they take off. Even like Iron Man.
True.
Robert Downey Jr.'s got like his coiffed hair.
Yeah.
And the helmet comes.
He's never
comes
sweating,
up and
right?
It's like perfect. And it's like, come on, you'd be dying in that thing. He's got little fans in it. Oh, so refreshing.
Knowing him, he probably is fully air conditioned. Knowing him.
Well, like most of those suits on set, they have like full water.
Oh, the Thor thing. Yeah, I heard about that.
Where they run through, like tubes run through, and then it's like a little chiller thing. And it keeps the water cold and circulates through the tubes, and it just keeps you like less hot.
Right, yeah.
And like people at conventions do it too, like Comic-Con conventions. They wear these water suits. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. So we talked about Uncharted. Something else. It's looking forward at the MCU. We're at a weird place right now, I think.
We're back at like
it's almost like the beginning. Of like setting up the Avengers. Like we're setting up the Avengers.
It's like we're watching Dark World. And Iron Man 3, and we're watching like those movies right now.
Because I just saw your post the other day, or maybe it was today. It was today or yesterday, where you have like the old character, like the original characters. It's that picture of like the original characters, and then like the new characters that took their role, and like how they're slowly being phased in. So you have like Hawkeye in the background, and then you have Kate Bishop in the front.
Yeah.
Or you have like Thor, and then you have Natalie Portman in the front.
Yeah.
And they're slowly but surely setting up.
They haven't fully replaced Iron Man yet.
No.
There's the Iron Heart Disney series is there, which is assumedly that's where he's going to be replaced. Right now, there's technically his War Machine.
Yeah,
technically,
he's still an Iron.
But he's always was a sidekick. Wasn't an actual replacement.
He's more military anyway.
Right. So it's really funny to look because now they just released the trailer for She-Hulk.
I saw that. Yeah.
So now you really look at it, and it's like, other than Iron Man, they have actually replaced everybody. The new Avengers are there because you have Kate Bishop, like you said. You have Yelena.
Mm-hmm.
You have She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Falcon is now Captain America.
Right.
And Jane Foster is potentially now the new going Thor. Who knows what's going to happen in the new movie?
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to die or he just will not. He'll be a different Thor.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's Space Thor. I don't know.
I'm interested to see that movie just to see what the heck they do with that. The trailer.
How did they make her? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be a reason why she came back and fixed the hammer. I mean, what is that storyline?
Yeah.
Because it's our universe. It's not a different universe. Well, maybe, I don't know.
See, that's the thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like, is it Jane Foster from a multiverse thing? Is it a multiverse movie? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be anything at this point.
Because they were saying, somebody was saying that like the Loki thing, the events in Loki when it's the thing and it shows the branching happening, from that moment forward is why it was so easy for Doctor Strange to mess up in Spider-Man. And why the multiverse like fractured so easily,
right?
And also in Doctor Strange, in Multiverse movie, his Madness movie, again, why it was just like all this craziness was happening and was like slipping. It's because of the events of Loki.
Interesting. Yeah, because then you have like American Chavez that like she can control go through multiverses, but she up to that point didn't really know how to use it.
Right.
So maybe she's more honed into it now that the multiverses are go on a collision course with each other.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me because Loki sets up basically a new Avengers level threat.
Oh, absolutely.
And so far we've yet to see any of that stuff.
No.
I thought Multiverse of Madness would delve into it, and it didn't. It was very much, for the title, it's very much a movie that's not really a lot about multiverse stuff.
Overly.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, but it's just.
It's not
like,
madness.
I was expecting it to be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, just
I think everybody was.
Yeah. How was it doing like ratings wise? Are people liking it, not liking it?
I think everybody's kind of come back and said that they enjoy it. I do think that the people that have thought about it a little longer than just like, wow, and a couple of the intense fight scenes in the other multiverse, I think once they look past that and start to really think about it, you're like, oh, it didn't really quite live up to what our expectations are, which is unfair of the movie. It's like our expectations are, it's fine.
It's hard when you come off of the Spider-Man movie where you have like 3 guys from your childhood that are coming back as Spider-Man.
Right.
And then you have a movie that's called The Multiverse of Madness. And it's like, we're on Earth. Okay, now we're on this other Earth. And that's the movie.
Right.
Okay, let's go back to Earth. Our original Earth. So realistically, there's parts where they go to different multiverses.
Yeah, there's that crazy sequence, right.
But that's about it.
Right.
You know, we start on whatever, 8268, whatever ours is. 863, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Then they go the other one. Now, I did hear in an interview that originally they were like super gung-ho about Tom Cruise as a Tony Stark variant.
Yeah.
And just because of COVID, they couldn't fit it in the schedule. And it's just like, it just hurts to know that. Because, man, did I want to see that.
Me too.
But, honestly,
there's nothing to say.
Reed Richards showing up is
sure.
Amazing. And that gets me excited for
Fantastic
Four.
Which is the next thing that they're... is the next group that has yet to be introduced to the thing. And the 2 other groups that are in that movie, they've yet to introduce are the mutants and the Inhumans because of Black Bolt. So
we haven't seen Doctor Doom yet either. And it's like, why are we not?
He's a huge villain.
And they've been teasing around it because, you know, everything that happened in the Sokovia and that area. And I would like to see him introduced in
he's been
a Disney...
like a series.
A Disney series where it's just like, that's the big bad guy at the end of the season. Or middle of the season, he shows up and he's like...
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty sweet. You know, like season 2 of Winter Soldier Falcon or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you still have that stuff with her.
Right.
Carter.
Yeah.
She was out there doing stuff like in that area. So it would be cool to move towards that. Yeah, I don't know. What was the other thing I was just thinking? I was just thinking about something that we said in the last podcast that we didn't even know.
I mean, Endgame was a huge...
Endgame was huge.
That was...
Yeah.
We had imaginations of what Endgame would be, and then Endgame was more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I never expected a splash page of Thanos versus essentially everybody in the MCU.
Captain America picking up the hammer.
Right, yeah.
It was like... Talk about, like, servicing the fans. You know?
Right.
No, so what I was thinking of, in our original Two Toms podcast, I was saying, I don't think they'll do it, but God would I love to see an Iron Spider-Man.
Oh!
And we did. Yeah. It was like the end of that movie. You see the suit. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to see a future Foundation Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? So you have the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
Set it up, whatever. Human Torch dies at the end. Next movie is Spider-Man gets cast as Future Foundation.
Wow.
That would be a childhood dream.
Wow.
Because that white suit.
Yeah, I mean it is
so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, think about that. Not that I want Human Torch to be finally on scene and gone.
Right.
But
well, I mean it's either. I mean, you're probably going to get one or the other. You're probably going to get in the next 5 years. You'll probably either get Future Foundation or you'll get the symbiote suit.
Yeah, one or the other.
But we've yet to actually see his sewn, homemade suit too.
I honestly would just like the next Spider-Man movie to just be just a normal Spider-Man movie where it's just he's Spider-Man. Yeah, and it's not trying to prove himself. It's not
Yeah,
he's an unknown. He's finally an unknown character. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is, and he can just go out and just be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It would be so cool.
So,
and I just recently heard that Disney is working towards a Deadpool movie.
Like, bringing him in. They're trying to.
They want to make Deadpool 3, but they want to make it Disney. Disney wants to make Deadpool 3.
Right.
So, Spider-Man and Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
It would be amazing. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see that either. But who knows?
Who knows, right?
We're in an era now where it's like, you could say anything and people would be like, yeah, maybe. Because 5 years ago, if you were to say,
I'd never would.
oh yeah, you know Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the same movie, and they're all going to be Peter Parker. Like, get out of here. Then what?
Yeah, it was.
Sony and Disney were like this.
Right.
They're not going to do nothing.
No, and I would definitely not believe anything like that, and even like.
Yeah.
I mean, literally bringing in the people for Multiverse of Madness. Like, I never.
John Krasinski is
right.
Reed,
like potentially like fan favorites, like fan theories.
Yeah.
Are now coming to the thing just to be like, how do you like that type of thing? Like,
well, I think that's where those Tom Cruise rumors came from, is because there was like a casting for him,
right?
And so like somehow fans get a hold of that stuff, and they're like, hey, Tom Cruise is alternate universe Iron Man. Like, yeah. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, maybe that would be cool.
right. Now you're like, yeah, why
and that
not?
would be so cool because Tom Cruise was originally cast for like, Iron Man.
Yeah.
But now to see him come back as like a different version of Tony Stark would just be so cool.
I know.
But just like with the Daredevil stuff, maybe we'll see that in a different movie down the road.
I think so.
Because Daredevil, they wanted Matthew Murdock in like a bunch of other movies, and they just couldn't because of COVID.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man. But honestly, when they finally used him as like a lawyer in Spider-Man, it was so good. I was so happy to see. He's such a good actor in that Netflix show. And that Netflix show makes me love Daredevil.
Oh,
a character that I've never really cared about.
Right.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. So I would like to see those other characters too. I mean, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And
any of them, really. Yeah, I'd be happy. Get more love for those characters,
Yeah. Punisher's hard. Punisher's a hard character to...
I mean, generally they're all kind of rough because they're all a little more grittier and a little more aggressive than what Disney's putting out. Generally, I mean,
but after,
Multiverse was kind of...
I was going to say, after seeing Multiverse, it's like, I guess they're not afraid to do, like, scary, gritty...
No, not as much.
No.
So, the question is, so I don't envision Venom 3 being that interesting.
That's what I was going to say. I haven't heard Tom Hardy, like, being up for anything.
Oh.
When we did the original, it was like Tom Hardy was like, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this, and like Tom Holland was kind of like, yeah, he's gonna be Spider-Man, but we don't no idea. And now it's opposite.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about Tom Hardy since Let There Be Carnage.
No. So I'm assuming the third one will be made. He'll be in it. It'll be either good or bad. It might fold into the Morbius stuff. You might be able to bring him in. Right? I know it's all these cringe things, but so nothing really. The point is not really looking forward to anything with Tom Hardy. But the question I was going to ask you is, now you look at Tom Holland, so dealing with Uncharted and dealing with another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
What do you want to see in Uncharted 2, and what villain have they not dealt with in Spider-Man that you'd like Spider-Man to like tackle?
Honestly, I know we just kind of got it with all the villains being back from the multiverse, but just a classic, good Sinister Six.
Yeah, okay.
Because Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, like Dr. Octavius, Scorpio, Vulture, Electro.
Yeah.
A lot would have to happen for that to be in our universe. Kind of.
I mean, they've set up Vulture and Scorpion, and is Mysterio in it?
Mysterio, I think originally Mysterio was like the leader of the Sinister Six.
Okay, because it's like Kraven, the Hunter, right?
Yeah, he comes through eventually. His big thing is he just wants to like mount his head on his wall.
Yeah.
He doesn't really join up with anybody. But I think the original was Mysterio, Scorpio, Dr. Octavius, Rhino? Maybe not Rhino.
I think Sandman.
Sandman, maybe. Shocker. I'm just listening to all Spider-Man films now. I really don't know. I know Mysterio and Scorpio, like, for sure, were in the original Sinister Six.
Yeah.
So
if you're putting pictures with it, there'll be a picture of it here. So.
Yeah, probably they're flying by the. Oh, what was that?
Yeah.
Oh man, so yeah, I don't know, either that or just a good like Kraven. Now that like Peter Parker is unknown, I would like to see Kraven come on scene, and like now it's like his big goal is to take out Spider-Man, who caused problems in New York City. Because as like Multiverse of Madness talked about, like there was an incident with Spider-Man, we don't really know about what was. So Kraven comes on the scene, and he wants to take out Spider-Man because he's like right now he's the only unknown masked hero in in our universe for the most part. That would be cool. So seeing Kraven come out, I know they've been talking. They wanted to do Kraven a while ago.
Sure.
So that I think that would be cool for Spider-Man. And as far as Uncharted movie, man, I don't know. The ending of Uncharted had me hopeful for the second one.
Yeah,
just the way, Nathan's got his baseball jersey, and Sully has his mustache and his flower shirt.
It's true. I mean, it kind of feels like it was going to start the first game. Really, is what it felt like.
Yeah, I'd like to see them go after something a little bit more crazy.
Yeah,
this was very much like Pirate Treasure. Like, okay, yeah, Pirate Treasure, we got it, Pirate Treasure. And that's where the game ends. It's very normal. It's very mundane, like pirate stuff. But I would like to see like a big end set piece, right? So I think of like Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, where it's like the Alps,
Oh, right.
Or 3 was in the desert, the Kalahari Desert.
Yeah.
A big set piece, a big hidden, mysterious, like lost city. Like that's what I want to see.
I think that'd be great. I think they should take their time to research something and make it its own, like you're saying, make it its own.
Yeah.
Adventure.
Yeah.
Don't borrow stuff from the games.
Yeah. Just be your own thing.
Be your own thing.
That's hard. It's a lot. Yeah.
No, I know, but I just say at the same time.
Even if they went like the El Dorado route, right? Because I mean, the first game is El Dorado, but it turns out like El Dorado was a statue, a golden statue, not a city. But if they did El Dorado and it was like El Dorado was an ancient city and they find it at the end, and then it all chaos happens.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with that. That'd be cool.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm generally based off of how. I mean, this first movie is fine. It's not.
No,
it's not terrible. But the way it ends makes me like,
man, yeah, I would like to see.
I'd like to see another one of those. Yeah.
I'd like to see Elena come into play in the second movie.
Yes.
I like Chloe. She was fine in that movie. But I would like to see an Elena character because that's. That's that's the thing. That's like. Yeah.
That's like all of it, basically.
Well, they obviously set up like Sam is alive right off the bat. Where it ends with seeing Sam.
Yes.
Yeah. So who knows? Yeah, who knows? Anything. Any like major story, like.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think of where we are with it all.
Yeah, it could be fun.
And the other thing too, before we close it, I was just thinking too, like looking at our stuff here, and it's like there's yet to be another Fallout game, which there will be. But the thing I was thinking about was like having another like a big thing with like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield is like I got the original Ghostbusters to come back.
Yeah.
In their characters, they didn't come back as garbage.
Throwaway characters.
Right, they came back as their actual characters. So it's story wise for all the thing, like all the movies that have come out, are some of the stories boring and not really well written. Yes, but it's nice to see stuff come back from your childhood and just actors you never thought you'd see in those costumes again. Like I never thought I'd see Tobey Maguire in a suit again.
No, and like as like older guys too. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So. No, I know, and I think like when we did the original one 5 years ago, it was very much like movies were not going towards nostalgia. It wasn't about like nostalgia stuff. It was we're just doing this. And now I feel like most movies that come out are very much like, remember this as a kid? Remember this? Remember how you like this?
They're trying to get you to.
They're trying to do a lot more nostalgia stuff.
So
is it good?
In some ways,
it's been good so far.
Some movies have been good, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man: No Way Home is great in the sense of nostalgia. Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not really the same. So some movies are really good at it, and some movies they're missing
like
it.
too much.
I mean, you think about the same thing with the Star Wars. The new Star Wars, like a lot of it just pays back on the old stuff, and it's like some of it's cool. Some of what they do in those movies is neat to see, and they try to stretch it a little bit, right? But other parts it fails.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes
but everybody's love for that new stuff gave birth to Mandalorian, which wasn't a thing when we.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's right. It's like a show that has like consumed my like love for Star Wars again.
Right.
It brought my love of Star Wars back from the brinks of despair.
Oh, I know.
Mandalorian was good. Boba Fett. A lot of people had problems with Boba Fett, but dude, if you would have 5 years ago, if you would have told that guy sitting on the chair,
right,
talking to you out, in our little studio there,
yeah,
like, hey, guess what? Boba Fett's gonna come back, and he's gonna crawl his way out of the Sarlacc pit, and he's gonna be a show on Disney streaming service. Get the f out of here! No way.
Really, think about it. Boba Fett coming back, Tobey Maguire coming back. We got the Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like stuff that you were like, okay,
it'll never happen. Yeah.
It don't happen, or if it does, it'll be garbage and whatever. It's crazy. It was only 5 years.
Yeah,
it was only 5 years.
Yeah, I know. So. Yeah, but even like looking back like that, it's like there's gonna be a smaller, like child version of Yoda, and he's gonna take the world by storm.
Yeah,
he's going to rule the world.
Yeah,
to the point where the memes are like people saying like, "Oh, you can't do that," and then Baby Yoda saying, "I am the Senate."
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, really, has there other than like the original trilogy? I don't think anything out of Star Wars has been more popular than Grogu coming out.
Grogu has been. Man, I don't even know how to explain it. It's such a giant thing. It honestly, I think, you know what it is. Here's my theory, because I've seen this in my own household. I've always been a Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, not so much a Star Wars fan. Not so much a space.
Yeah, like
fan, like sci-fi fan.
Right.
So there's a lot of other stuff, nerdy stuff. Sci-fi, not so much. So when I found out that there was a show about a Mandalorian, I was like, that's awesome. I can't wait. And that first episode ends with Baby Yoda, Grogu. And you're like, what the heck is this story going to be about? Because Yoda's species has like never been explained. Right. There's been him and Yaddle, right?
Yeah.
Which is like such a throwaway. Nobody even talks about.
Right.
And then to be like, man, what are they going to do with this story? Episode 2 comes out, and you get to see Grogu more of like the actual puppet that they built, and he's doing stuff in his pod, and super cute, super funny. I'm like, man, I gotta show my wife this little
she'll like, yeah.
And the moment she saw it, it was just every episode. Let's watch the first. I showed her the third episode where Grogu's out and he uses the Force.
And you're probably just showing her a clip.
Yeah,
right?
And I was like, look at this character they just made up for the show. And it's like as soon as she saw it, she's like, what episode is this? This is like 3 or 4. And she says, let's start from the beginning. I want to see So now it's like, now there's this character. It gets her invested in the show.
Right.
To the point where like she cares about Mandalorian and Grogu and like what they do.
Right.
To the point where she had no interest in Boba Fett. And then I said, hey, so Mandalorian and Grogu come back. And then it was like, let's watch Boba Fett. So I think that's why he's popular. Because you have all these Star Wars fans, and then they have girlfriends or they have wives, and they say, hey, look at this, or they see the memes, and what is this? Explain it, you show them to them, and they just fall in love with this character.
Yeah.
So now it's like everywhere. It's everywhere.
I think it was the same thing for Guardians too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Baby Groot.
Baby Groot, yeah. That got like the same thing that you're saying with like girlfriends and wives and stuff were all like, oh.
Even my brother was just talking to me because they just got back from.
That's right.
They just went on the Guardians ride, the new Guardians ride that just opened, and he was telling me, he's like, I never understood like why everybody liked like Grogu, or not Grogu, Groot. Like what's the deal with Groot? Why? And then they went on Guardians and they watched the first Guardians and they're like, It's like, yeah, I get it now. I get why everybody likes Groot, you know?
Yeah, he's
like, yeah, he's a cool character. He's just funny.
Yeah, he's simple. And,
yeah.
like, there's not a lot to him.
Yeah.
Which people like. People like simple, innocent characters, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can tell his character just as, like, visual. It doesn't have to be, like, explained to you, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, honestly, I think that's why it had become super popular.
Makes sense. I mean...
But, yeah. So, yeah, no, we're literally... There was none of that stuff then. And now, like, season 3 is coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, Stranger Things season 4 is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And I think back then it was not even a thing, or was it a thing?
I think we had season 1 of it.
Was there a season 1? Okay.
I think so. I think that came out in 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing I was laughing about, too, in a different episode before the 2 times, we were talking about Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Did we film... See, I don't remember when we filmed The Shallows. Did we film The Shallows before or after that?
Man, I don't know.
I think we filmed The Shallows after, like you have it up on the thing. So,
yeah, I think it was after.
But that was new. That was a new thing.
Yeah, and it was just like all these like things that we thought about it. And we saw the rise, and then we saw now it's like here.
Yeah.
People still play.
it. They enjoy it.
Noah and I still do it occasionally, but not like we used to, man. We would drive out. We'd go to like community days and
it
used to be a thing where like people would be on Facebook and like, oh, we're doing this, we're going to this raid, it's community day, I made cookies for everybody, and like it would be a big group activity and people would go and people would like knit like, Pokemon stuff and be handing out like, I had a big Valor sticker on my car.
Oh yeah. It
was just like you had to like show which team you were on to people, like driving and like, yeah, if you're on Instinct, you're a loser.
Yeah, true.
And now
it
it's
was
like
a big thing.
It was on the news. It was everything.
Everybody talked about it. Everybody talked about it.
Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Ain't no Pokemons out here.
I remember being in the news, like kids were in cemeteries Pokemon hunting, and they were all up in arms if you were disrespecting the dead and stuff by walking around on the thing. But I mean, to your point, it was in the news. Like it was a huge thing.
And then to the point where like, because of Pokemon Go, people were outside exploring the world more. So they were finding things like corpses and murder victims and being mugged and being like set up.
Being hurt.
Remember when like
those people on
criminals
Twitch or whatever
like set up
stalking them and stuff.
They would like pay for lures and they would put, how funny is that? How ironic is that? They would pay for a lure in game.
Yeah.
Put a lure on a Pokestop and they would lure actual real people into this fictional place on their phone and then mug them. It's just like it was just crazy.
It really was. These little phenomena that happen. And I mean, and the other thing that, not to talk about it at great length, but really the pandemic. I mean, we had no idea what.
5 years ago, if you would have told me that we would be living in The Last of Us at some point.
Yeah, basically in like 2.5 years later, more or less, almost 2 years.
It's funny. My dad says that all the time where he says, you'll see somebody they haven't seen in a while and they'll say, hey, what's new? And you're like, not much. And then you really think about what's new and it's like crazy, the things that have happened.
Yeah, it's true.
Just from 5 years ago. I mean, not to get into it here, but like things have changed drastically just in our lives.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. Well, we both weren't married when we did it, so.
No.
You were very close to being married, but
yeah, that's right.
You were just a couple months away from it, and so was I. But still, it was just like we were fresh-faced babies back then. A lot of stuff has happened.
Yeah.
That's the droids working on.
Yeah. The droids. Yeah, if you can hear it, those are battle droids being serviced.
Master, destroy us. And that was the other thing I was going to say was probably when this comes out, because it's probably going to come out on the anniversary day.
The 28th, yeah.
So yesterday was Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
so.
Right. So we'll be talking about that shortly.
But I'm just saying, like, that also, a thing that we never thought we'd see was you and
Ian
McGregor
and Hayden Christensen coming back.
Right.
No, so if you're watching this, last week, episode 3 released, our podcast on episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so now we're building up.
I'm not going to tell you when we filmed it.
Yeah.
But it did come out.
Yeah, it's already been out. And you should watch it again. You should go watch it again.
Watch it right now. Pause this video. Pull up the other video. Watch that to completion. And then come back. Here's the mark. Stop at this mark. Hold. And now we're back.
Okay, so now that you've seen that. Yeah, so Obi-Wan came out yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good.
That was great.
It was great. Yeah, I'll have to go back and
Yeah.
No, I don't want it. Oh, man. So, 5 years ago, what was Jurassic World was out?
Yeah.
Second one not out yet?
No.
Yeah, so that's
I think second one was 2009.
That makes sense.
So it was like 2 years before we saw it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that, yeah.
So
no Bond. The Bonds were not as many.
There's only 2 or 3. Probably 2.
I want to say Spectre had come out.
Spectre had come out. Yeah.
And No Time to Die was not in
not even being talked about. Yeah. They were still talking about replacing Bond at that point.
Yeah.
So we have 3 weeks till Dominion. 4 weeks till Dominion.
Oh yeah, not that many. Yeah. Probably less. Probably just about 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is the last week of the month.
Yeah. So it'll be good.
Well, not Monday, Tuesday. But
yeah.
basically.
So that's what we'll be doing.
Cool. Well, that is crazy that it has been 5 years since we talked about.
I think it's safe to say we won't be doing a 5-year anniversary of The Shallows.
It's already come and gone.
Yeah. Don't think that's going to happen.
It's one of those movies that we saw, and I've never had an interest in watching it again.
Like,
You know what? And it's funny is there really hasn't even been that many shark movies that have come out since then.
just The Meg.
The Meg was great. You can shut your mouth about The Meg.
It wasn't terrible.
That was a summer monster flick.
It was a summer monster.
Yeah. Also, talking to those kids from 5 years ago, Godzilla versus Kong.
That's true. No, that's true. I mean, really, it was something that they were slowly building towards. But I think, March, I think Kong had come out.
Yeah. Back then, they were talking about the Universal Cinematic Universe with the Mummy, Dracula, Kong.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Tom Cruise found the Mummy, and that
everybody was like, maybe we're not interested in seeing.
Maybe Universal Pictures doesn't need a cinematic.
Which is funny because usually what Tom Cruise doesn't usually flop really hard.
Yeah.
But that did pretty bad. So.
Yeah, that was really well. The remember the trailer that they released? They originally released the trailer and had no sound in it other than Tom Cruise like screaming when the helicopter fell.
Oh,
when the plane like dives, there's no audio in it but him going.
I kind of remember.
And they cut it from the internet to re-release the new one, but people had downloaded it so fast that like it's still out there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I didn't know that. That's funny actually.
Oh man,
good stuff.
And speaking of Tom Cruise, where Top Gun 2 is coming out.
It came out yesterday.
That's a movie that's like 30 years in the movie.
Yeah, 36 years. 36 years.
Woof.
Talk about nostalgia, right? Like it's more nostalgia.
Yeah, I don't know that one. So.
We'll see. I don't know. Who knows?
But you said the cinematography, I'm sure, is amazing.
The first story isn't that impressive.
No,
it's
not a great movie.
No. But it's always cool. I always like the idea of what Tom Cruise is actually physically doing in those movies. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Well, he's a big director now. He directs all his own stunts and everything. Yeah, he's crazy. Man, all right. So that.
And also, Star Trek got a lot worse.
Picard sucks.
Yeah.
And that other one is junk too, huh?
Discovery, yeah. But Strange New Worlds came out at the beginning of this month, so that's been a lot better.
And it's been actually feels like Star Trek.
Actual Star Trek. It's still goofy, but well, I should say it's still got its issues, but poor little me, because that came out in September of 2017. So just like not 4 months from that little boy, that fresh-faced, naive little boy. Star Trek is coming back.
Oh, Captain Picard.
But it's okay.
I love Picard.
Both of the franchises that we enjoyed a lot. You have Mandalorian that brought you back, and
Yeah.
I have Strange New Worlds that brought me back. So it's good. And now we're gonna bond mutually from yesterday's 2 episodes of Obi-Wan, which you'll see that podcast probably in a couple days.
Yep. Yeah, it should come out like 2 or 3 days right after that Friday.
Yeah. So look for that.
Yeah. So in a couple days.
Yeah, a couple days, and also Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah. Oh, geez, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what's next on the pipeline.
All right. Yeah, and we got speaking of Star Trek, we got your Batlith.
Batleth, yeah.
Batlith video will be slowly coming out.
Yeah.
We're doing a special Buddy Builds series, and we're building a Batlith from Captain Worf.
Next generation.
Yeah.
Next generation.
So Worf's Batlith.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already been filmed, and that'll slowly be coming out. We wanted it to be a 4-part series. It's probably going to be 12-part series. I really wanted to make it. I didn't want to cut a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it like an instructional video from beginning to end. And then there's a couple long parts where I'll probably release the same week. I won't like do a week stretch in between.
Yeah.
Where it's very much like, here's the materials, here's the pricing, here's how to use them, here's where I get them.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I know, and I haven't put out like a prop video in forever. I feel like such a loser. I got stuff in the works though.
Yeah. These things have been coming out, so people who stay tuned to the channel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see that people do enjoy these episodes. So. We enjoy doing them. So.
Yeah, and this was a thing that he made.
That's a video.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if you can see this, but
it's green. I don't know.
If it's a giant star field or parts of a ship, it's not what it is.
What if I go in and put like a little crop tool around it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just take a picture of it, and I'll just clip it. And I'll just bring like an actual image onto the desk.
I love it.
Oh man!
All right.
Well, that was fun.
In the 5 years, we didn't change it.
Yeah.
So,
come for the nerds.
Stay for the holes.
Stay for the holes. All right.
This has been the Nerd Holes.
All right. Back to our quarters.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications.
Wait, what was that? Oh, it's a subscribe button. Oh,
there it goes.
It's gone. Bye.
Bye.